Greetings everyone, and welcome back to my town of bootstraps here in this wonderful game of Banished. This is going to be a bit more of an expert's tutorial for you, some of the things that I have learned up until this point, which I think is, this is my 8th video I believe? Yeah, something like that. So let's go through a few things and explain some of the more intricate details of the game, which I have been kind of glossing over and neglecting to mention so far. Right now you will notice immediately that we have got almost 3,000 food and roughly over 50 citizens. That's pretty good for a first benchmark. You ran into a lot of trouble getting up to this point if you are not careful. You might remember that I had 2 hunting cabins, and you might notice immediately that there is only one of them there now. Why is that, you may wonder to yourself. Let's go put this on 1x. There we go. So why is that, you might ask yourself? Well, in order to maximize your food, once you get around 30-40 people, you start having to make serious decisions with where your labor really needs to go, because you're spreading out, and if you're not being efficient, you really get hurt. So for that, we have this tab here that looks almost as if it's grayed out, and that threw me off at first as well. But no, this tab is actually very, very important. We click it, and we can see how it's doing during the different seasons. This one, for example, we can see we're getting 920 venison from this particular hunting cabin, and of course the all-important leather for clothing. If we go to our other hunting cabin, which is over yonder, we can see that's not a hunting cabin. We can see they're not doing quite so well. It's a bit hit or miss on how you do on the hunting from season to season, it would appear. On the other hand, if I click on my gatherer's hut, I can see, whoa, we're doing really, really well on food for our gatherer's hut. Each and every single one that we click on, we're doing very, very well. Including the one way back over in here. You can see there's a slight little overlap, and that usually should hurt you. But gatherers are so ridiculously good that despite the overlap, we're doing very, very well with our gatherers. So we're giving them priority. If we need to take workers out of anywhere, we're taking them out of the hunters first because they don't give us as much food on average. Because you saw the comparison between the two. One was doing really, really well, one was doing not quite so well. So if you want reliability, you get your food from the gatherers at the moment. And this is assuming that you run hard and you don't have access to farming just yet, because the trader has, I don't know, taken a dislike to you or something. Same thing with the fishing. You can see immediately last season we got 580, almost 600, let's just round it. Same thing I think with this one, yep, about 600, so that's pretty reasonable. So in your head, you can get kind of this estimation on what you prioritize now. We can prioritize gatherers, we can prioritize fish, and then like below them is the hunters. So we can pull out of there if we need to. So that right there is probably your very, very, very best friend. All of your production buildings have that, including your woodcutters, for example. Previous season, we cut 360 wood. The other guy did as well. And we're getting the sense that that's only limited by the amount of fuel that we have access to. Or the limit that we're giving them to actually produce, which is now set up to 400. So we'll probably do even better this season, now that I've given them the go-ahead and do so. Don't have to right now, because we can see that we have a pretty reasonable surplus. But you may want to do that regardless, because I can't show you right now, because there's no trader here. But firewood is an excellent resource to trade. Next up, our lovely little pasture has been changed. At first, we had it very, very small. The results of that, of course, was we were only able to have 2 out of 2 cows there, and everything that was new got slaughtered. That was not a really good recipe for, you know, expansion. We tried again. It only went up to 4, that wasn't good either. So we maxed this out to 20 by 20, which took a fair amount of wood, but we had enough to cover it. But now the upside of that is we have ourselves 5 cows somehow. Oh, there he is. there's a little guy, a little right over there. You see a little fifth little cow, got his head stuck in the fence, it looks like. I'm assuming he's not dead and suffocating. But yes, we have ourselves 5 cows. Nothing is going to be helping our town here for quite some time until this maxes out, but it is a great investment. Which brings me to another tip that I meant to tell you immediately. This pasture is a 20 by 20, but there are disasters in this game. One disaster is actually called the Blight, in which whatever your people are, not your people, but your animals are grazing on, whatever you're growing, just completely destroys you. So one thing I'm going to be doing in this episode is taking a duplicate of this lovely little pasture, and I'm going to be putting another one over here in this little corner that I can easily get another 20 by 20 structure on. That way, in the off chance that Blight does hit our cows, for example, we can immediately get them the crap out of there and grazing away happily where they're supposed to be, without being affected too much by the Blight. You don't want to, for example, have another set of another pasture of this type right next to your other one, because the Blight will just jump over and hit them both. Now, someone who is much more experimental than I am can probably tell you on forums or whatnot exactly what space away it is to avoid that effect. I am not going to be doing that right now. I mean, I guess theoretically if you find out like, oh yeah, 3 spaces and you're good, or 4 spaces and you're good, that'll be helpful too. For the moment, just because I don't have a Blight right now to test that on, and 2, I don't really want to have a headache with it later, I'm just going to build one across town and have that be easy as that. Which brings me to yet the next little tooltip that I have for you. You can see here, or not there, sorry, you can see here. There we go. I currently do not have any stone cutters or miners. And the reason for that is this is very much a late game kind of thing. We have plenty of food. I could have a couple of people on this, but it's just not enough to make it worthwhile. It almost feels like you're just wasting labor. So if I just put all 4 laborers in here, I just don't see that it's worth taking up those laborers to do that. So you definitely do not need a quarry or a mine in the early game. And I'm going to call early game between, 0 and probably about 100 workers. You do not need a mine or a quarry. All you need to do, tell a bunch of laborers to go out and pick up the resources around you. You could even plop down, a stockpile near the edge of, pretty close to them, to cut back on their back and forth time in getting the resources. You can see that's what I did here. This is a nice full stack of iron and stone, the result of which is I just I pretty much just picked up all the stone and iron in this little vicinity, and instead of going all the way over here to plop it down, it's just over there, which was fairly close. It's close enough that it's not hindering our businesses that actually take advantage of those particular materials. You can see we have a surplus of 54 tools, because there he is. That little blacksmith is more than happy to walk over here to get what they want just as easily as they could have walked over there to get what they want. So no fuss, no muss there. And lastly, despite the fact that I did tell you that these hunters do take a low priority, I am not advising that you nix them completely, simply because if we take a look over at what's going to keep our citizens warm in the winter, not a schoolhouse. Yeah, here we go. Our coats, you need either a leather coat or a wool coat to make them a little bit warmer right off the bat. So if you're lucky and you got access to sheep immediately, then maybe you can cut hunters out early on and not worry about it. If you do not have access to sheep, then you are going to be needing some leather, and the only way you're going to get that is either from cows, which, as we saw here, is going to take a fair number of years to actually develop up, or you can get it from your hunters. But again, you can see how much leather that we're actually getting from them each season. That is not a hunter. I did that again. There we go. We're getting a little bit of leather from them and a little bit of leather from them. And that's pretty much enough, as you see here, to keep a nice stockpile of 45 clothes to address our population. Don't really need much more than that. So at the bare minimum, you are going to need some for leather. But feel free to rip people out of the cabin, the hunting cabin that is, if you so need. Alright, and one last tip for you as well, because you saw it in my town. I wasn't going to mention this, but I clicked on it, so why not? The schoolhouse, you can see that I have one as I was experimenting with. You do not need one again until about 70, 80 citizens, 100, whatever. You can get away with not doing the schoolhouse. And in fact, a couple of years, about 18 to be exact, from when you first make that schoolhouse, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble because your citizens, your children that are born at that point, do take 18 years to enter your workforce, where they usually take 13, right? At age 13, they're usually going off and being laborers. Hooray for child labor. But when you put that school in, well, then you need a little bit extra time. Another 5 more years before you have access to those citizens. And that can really hurt you if your population is going up, as mine was, and suddenly we had ourselves shortages of a lot of different things because we've had 6 laborers that weren't in the workforce just yet that we may have counted on. So that can be a problem. So definitely stabilize yourself, get yourself plenty of food and whatnot before actually making the decision to plunk down a schoolhouse. Otherwise, your town may face its own little dire troubles. So those are my little tips right now that I have discovered for this game. I hope you're playing it on hard if you're making use of this to get the best effect out of this game. And I hope they're able to help you enjoy this a little bit more. So I might make another video of some more export tips for you later on how to expand and things like that. But for now, you can see once you're hitting around 50 people, these little tips should be more than enough to keep you solid at this level and give you a nice foundation to continue expanding beyond it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you guys next time.